mental health stigma, it made a situation that was already really difficult even harder. Um, I already felt like a bad person and that I wasn't strong enough. The fact that I was struggling with my mental health. So to have stigma from other people, as well as the stigma I was already giving to myself, um, made it feel even harder.
As a society, I think a lot of people might want to help or support someone going through a mental health condition, but they might not really know what to say. You know, they don't want to make it worse or make people, back away even more. So a lot of the time, people just don't say anything at all. My probably worst experience of stigma actually came with a mental health professional. He came over to our house, obviously sat in my room and was chatting to me. And I remember discussing with him about my suicidal thoughts that I'd been experiencing for quite a while. And all I can remember him saying is, but you haven't done it, have you? And that was sort of a real shock to the system. I remember at the time not really knowing how to respond or knowing if he'd actually said it at the time. I was thinking, has he actually said that? I'm sort of second guessing myself. And I remember for a while after that, I struggled quite a bit to open up because I was like, I started to think maybe I was being dramatic with how I felt, or what I was feeling wasn't as real as I thought it might be.
So I struggled a lot with anorexia, depression as well, but they kind of overlapped, I think, in some areas for me. And I found that when I went to the GP and when I tried to express what was going on with me, it was very much a case of, oh, but you're not at this point yet, and therefore you are fine, and therefore we can let you go and go about your life, because you're not X weight or X BMI. It very much felt like I had to demand it and jump through hoops, which is not something that you're in a position to do when you're that ill. So it's a case of like the stigma coming from professionals is sometimes the most damaging, I think.
In terms of stigma from my school, again, I felt that I was made to be a problem and an inconvenience and a burden, and it didn't look good on them to have somebody in school who was struggling with their mental health. So it was easier for them either to put me in a room away from everyone else, which felt like a punishment, or just to send me home from school rather than trying to support me.
I feel like it is often a lack of understanding. I really don't believe that it's malicious a lot of the time. I think it is like just a case of people not really getting it. So I think a lack of education around that kind of thing definitely does come into it. But also, I think there has to be a willingness to listen.
A lot of it is just basic empathy. Like, we find it within ourselves to relate to people from the other side of the world facing adversity of different kinds that we have never experienced ourselves. So it's it it just doesn't cut it that an entire part of human existence, because we are not just physical, we're also mental and spiritual beings, that one part of ourselves gets at times completely miscounted. It's just a lack of education is not the thing, it's the lack of care. And it's not to do with mental health specifically, it's to do with just having empathy towards your fellow human being.
If someone is going through something like that, they don't always need that magic solution to get them through it. They just, as Nay said, you just need someone to be willing to listen. And you might not necessarily understand because you haven't been through a similar thing, but the most important thing is being willing to listen and not judge someone for what they're going through, because a lot of the time, it's not malicious, and they may say something, they may be like, oh, think positive, try not to dwell in it, or this and that. But a lot of the things that people say are just almost make people feel guilty or a bit stupid for feeling that way.
Some people might want to be open and talk about what's going on for them. Other people might just want you to be there and be their friend and be something away from their struggles. Just because someone's struggling with their mental health, that doesn't mean that they don't want to do some of the things that you usually would as a young person. And sometimes that distraction can be really helpful.
I don't think that asking questions is a bad thing at all, and I don't think it should be something that's feared. It's very rare that a question can make things worse. Yeah, so I think like that should be encouraged, and I don't think it should be something that is just like unsaid or swept under the carpet or just neglected.
Just the fact that you took the time to ask that and show that you care, that is going to matter way more than anything that you say after that.